Folks from around the country gathered in front of the United States Supreme Court on Tuesday, coming out to support both sides of Masterpiece Cake Shop versus the Colorado Civil Rights Commission case. The case dates back to 2012 when Jack Phillips, the owner of the Lakewood, Colorado-based Masterpiece Cake Shop, would not bake a custom wedding cake for a same-sex ceremony, citing his deeply held religious beliefs. Phillips is a devout Christian who reportedly has also refused to design custom cakes for Halloween, divorce celebrations, and other events in conflict with his religious beliefs. The couple in question, Charlie Craig and Dave Mullins, were living in Colorado, where same-sex marriage was not yet legalized at the time. They planned to wed in Massachusetts, which did allow gay marriage, then host the reception in Denver. After Phillips explained that he was unable to bake the cake, Craig and Mullins filed a complaint with the Colorado Civil Rights Commission, citing an anti-discrimination law. The commission ruled in their favor. Phillips pushed forward to the Colorado Court of Appeals, arguing that forcing him to provide custom cakes for events that he did not agree with was a violation of his First Amendment rights to freedom of religion and freedom of speech. However, the appeals court upheld the ruling of the Civil Rights Commission. The case has since arrived at the Supreme Court, with Phillips being represented by the Alliance Defending Freedom. The American Civil Liberties Union is representing Craig and Mullins. On Tuesday morning, the Western Journal spoke with individuals outside the Supreme Court building. One woman explained that she disagreed with the idea that a business selling goods to the public should be able to discriminate against who they choose to sell to.
Anyone should be able to buy public goods that are for sale, whether it's cake, whether it's a car, whether it's anything. A business person should not be able to decide who and who they can sell things to.
Another woman seemed to agree and claimed that allowing a business not to sell a product on the grounds of religious belief is a violation of the separation of church and state.
And I just really believe that we should uphold the constitutional separation between church and state, and that you're entitled to your own private beliefs, but that you can't discriminate against people in terms of your business.
But still others disagreed. One man said that the constitutional right to freedom of religion protects the right of individuals to express their faith as they see fit.
Well, you know, the Constitution gives us not only the right to believe as we choose, but the free expression of religion, and I think that's what's at stake, whether we can express our faith. So our faith is something that's personal, but it's never meant to be private. It's something that we should be able to live out each day, and that's what's at stake, whether we can live out what we believe.
Speaking outside the court building, Family Research Council President Tony Perkins echoed similar sentiments.
Wherever we go, we simply want the freedom that our Constitution guarantees us. The freedom to believe and live according to those beliefs.
More than 240 years ago, our founders wrote words that have echoed through the ages. They declared these truths to be self-evident, that we are, each of us, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 45 years ago, the Supreme Court of the United States turned its back on the unalienable right to life. But in that moment, our movement began.
Activists from around the country gathered in Washington, D.C. on Friday to show their support for the pro-life movement. The 45th annual March for Life attracted demonstrators of all ages and walks of life. In 1973, the United States Supreme Court legalized abortion in all 50 states after the landmark case of Roe v. Wade. Nearly 45 years later, high schools and colleges bussed in students while families and clergy members alike took to the streets of the nation's capital, calling for an end to abortion.
It's a sign of solidarity and support that there are many hardworking, passionate, loving people out there that see not only abortion as a great evil, but something that can be overcome with love, with community, and that we are working together to really build a better world.
It's very important for me because we don't know what those babies that are interrupted would have been. And they are the future of society.
2018 marked a historic turn for the annual pro-life demonstration when President Donald Trump became the first sitting president to address the march via live stream.
Today I'm honored and really proud to be the first president to stand with you here at the White House to address the 45th March for Life. That's very, very special. 45th March for Life. I strongly supported the House of Representatives' pain-capable bill, which would end painful late-term abortions nationwide. And I call upon the Senate to pass this important law and send it to my desk for signing.
House Speaker Paul Ryan also spoke to the crowd of thousands, making note of apparent increased support for the pro-life movement.
And do you know why the pro-life movement is on the rise? Because truth is on our side. Life begins at conception. Do you know why the pro-life movement is on the rise? Because science is on our side.
In Washington, D.C., this is Caterine DeCicco reporting for the Western Journal.
For 6 years, this agency has fought to keep people from getting cheated. For 6 years, this agency has fought to give consumers a chance. For 6 years, this agency has fought for working people. And now it is time for us to fight for the agency. Are you ready to fight?
100 people. He says he hopes the Institute will encourage other students to realize their potential.
I need not share my political view on any of the issues, but I hope I can convince someone to share my view that they have an obligation, they have an opportunity, and they have the capacity.
But the hottest topic of the night was health care. Many frustrated that Harris supported the plan recently pulled by President Donald Trump.
We need to reform Medicaid. We need to turn it back to the states so the states make the decision what's best for their people.
But we all seem to agree on one thing. Business as usual has to change. If we're going to tackle the tough issues that confront us, we need to get our financial house in order.
We rank third in the country in entrepreneurial job growth, business growth, and our state has the second lowest percentage of people living below the poverty rate in the nation.
It was the cell phones, the ability of the inmates to contact the facilitators outside, to stay in contact with correctional officers who were participating in the conspiracy. Those cell phones fueled the operations of this criminal enterprise.
He's absolutely a true Delaware hero. Yes, ma'am.
Jeffrey Klopp is the president for the Correctional Officers Association of Delaware. Klopp, along with a handful of other passionate community members, let their voices, their cries, and their memories of Sergeant Floyd be heard for the thousands of Delawareans that attended tonight's candlelight vigil.
I mean, it's terrible that he's not with us, but the way he left and the way he exemplified his life by saving those other officers' lives is I guess as fitting a way as you can leave this world.
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, no, I believe the 800-pound elephant in that question was Donald Trump.
This unexpected answer from Maryland Comptroller Peter Franchot was his response to a question about funding for NASA Wallops Island. The Democratic head of Maryland Finance was in Salisbury for an appearance with Republican Governor Larry Hogan in a show of bipartisanship to answer questions from the community about a number of key issues affecting the state. It was clear no one in attendance, not even the governor, was prepared for the conversation turning to President Donald Trump.
I happen to think that this individual is not fundamentally a good guy. And the problem is that my party wants to transfer that reputation for recklessness and vulgarity over to Governor Hogan. And Governor Hogan is about as far from Donald Trump as far as values and personal conduct as any individual could possibly be.
The comptroller's comments, although in defense of the governor, opened the door for the governor to speak on his feelings towards Trump, something Hogan has been successfully avoiding until Monday. Arguably his first public statement about the Trump administration, Hogan said it wasn't his role as governor to protest or attack Donald Trump.
I'm not a defender of the administration, but we're certainly going to work as best we can to make sure that Maryland has got a good relationship with our federal officers, and that includes the president and the administration, the cabinet secretary.
Attorney General Matt Dent explains most people suffering from substance use disorders are covered by health insurance for treatment. The problem, he says, is that people have reported frustration with treatment options.
It's covered by their insurance, but many times they're being required to go to a much lower level of treatment and relapse before they're allowed to get to a more appropriate level, and we just don't think that that's a good way to approach the problem, and in fact it's very dangerous.
We got some bags of heroin. My mom was a bigger lady, and I ended up shooting her up with heroin, so she ended up, as they would call it, nodding out. She was high, so she sat on her little chair.
It's a group of people who just care about democracy, our society, people, and how people fare, and that we have a fair and equitable system for everybody in the country.
One of the most encouraging things, I think, is to see so many young people, right? So many young people who are committed to really making a change, to really stopping what's been happening for so long. You see all different sorts of groups, all different people with banners, everyone. There's a bit of everyone who's represented there, which I think is very encouraging.
The donations people give will help those who have nothing and will spend the following weeks and months trying to rebuild their lives from the ground up. Assistant Pastor Dave Amelli says just after one day of collections, they've already seen a tremendous response from the community. He says he only expects that to continue.
This is a great community. The churches, I believe, are committed to stretching out their arms and helping others any way they can.
7-year-old Naomi and 4-year-old Aiden Sells were victims of a violent attack back on December 6th. Their mother, also a victim of the attack, passed away 6 days later. The children are now facing traumatic brain injuries, and nearly 2 months after the attack are still recovering at a Baltimore hospital.
He's currently paralyzed on the left side, so that's going to be a huge challenge. There's some good news in that Naomi is relearning how to walk, relearning how to eat. You know, people don't realize that these kids with traumatic brain injuries, they have to relearn everything.
Everything that's being done is done for the children. They're my first priority. After losing my daughter, God gave me the next job. So therefore, I have to step up and step out and let God do the work in the people for the needs of our children. Because my children are their children. We all live in the same community. That's how it needs to be.
We got him all the way. We got the shirts and the pants and the underwear and the socks and shoes, and he was so thrilled.
And that was just the beginning. They now serve kids in need in Sussex County. They started their organization in their house in January of 2012, but later moved to this facility. What was once nothing but used clothes is now new donated clothes that come from all over. Each child in need gets 5 outfits, one for each day of the week. Mary says they offer clothes to girls and boys in preschool up to 5th grade.
It's amazing. You just can't put words to it. You really can't. We don't see the children that are involved in this, but once in a while we'll get a letter back from the counselor saying that they opened up the box and it was just like Christmas. It just means so much to them.
Providing a home for everyone. That is what Habitat for Humanity strives to do. And now, for the first time, a family in Millsboro will have a place to live, all thanks to Grace United Methodist Church.
Grace is really the dream community partner for us because they bring funding for the project, and it's actually the members of the congregation that will build the home.
Along with the new homeowner as well. To earn your down payment for your home, you must participate in helping build. Past 8 years, Mount Air Farms has been doing just that. It's called Thanksgiving at Easter. 26 different churches, students from Selbyville Middle School, and the American Legion Post 28 all got together on Tuesday to help pack 1,200 boxes, enough to feed about 4,800 people. He sends signatures and well wishes to every branch of the military and says it all started in his house. After watching a TV segment on troops leaving to serve their country, he felt inspired to send well wishes overseas. So Jackson took a roll of paper to a Christmas party, and the rest is history. More and more people were interested in signing the scrolls, including SEAL Team 1, who drove up from Virginia.
Man, tears just run down my face. I couldn't believe it.
still gets me. I mean, you know, these boys fighting for our country who drove 100 and some miles to write on a piece of paper. So, Michelle, I can't quit.
Annette Reaping of Operation Seize the Day says the hope is that events like Friday's Motorcade Welcome Home event will help ease war vets' pain, recognize them, and help them move forward.
We don't understand the worlds they live in. We have a very generous community that open their arms to our veterans.
So generous that they've opened their homes for these vets to stay for 5 days for their annual Warrior Beach Week. But it's not only Bethany Beach homeowners pitching in, it's the businesses as well, providing amenities including meals, golf, paddleboarding, boating, and fishing. Walker is on the move. Walker started her 2,700-mile journey in Oceanside, California on March 1st and only has a few miles left until her final destination, Ocean City, Maryland. And it's all for a good cause. Walker works for the 9/11 National Memorial Trail Alliance, which is dedicated to raising money to create a trail to connect all 3 crash sites from the September 11th attacks. When it's completed, the trail will be about 1,300 miles long and will connect the Pentagon Memorial, the Flight 93 Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and the National September 11th Memorial in New York City. Walker says when she was able to put a few things on hold, she knew she had to take the opportunity.
I just kind of wanted to see if I could do it, and I'm not getting any younger. So the time is now.
When it's time to sleep, Walker says she usually finds a hotel or bed and breakfast, but if that's not an option, she'll set up the tent or hammock that she carries and camp out. A typical day, getting up in the morning, getting her gear sorted, and taping her feet to prevent blisters. Walker then has some breakfast and is on her way. Some of the scariest moments of her journey so far?
The petrifying moments have all been vehicles. You have to be on guard all the time. Mentally, it's extremely tiring. And when you're tired mentally, you're tired physically.
But Jan says, for the most part,
actually everybody's been really good and very helpful, and I've had nothing but great experiences with that.
There's a lot to see across the U.S., and Walker says among the most memorable stretches was crossing the I-55 bridge in Memphis over Mississippi.
Another highlight was actually getting to go through Tennessee, my home state, and walk right to my front door. And my parents' front door. That was great.
Walker says throughout her trip, she's had really high highs and really low lows. But the key is to keep your mind busy.
Basically, I've solved all the problems of the world and wrote about 400 books and those kind of things just to keep my mind. Because if your mind starts sinking down, then you get so tired you can't even move along.
And how good is it going to feel when you finally get to
Oh my gosh. It is going to feel wonderful.
To finish her 7-month-long journey across the U.S., Jan says on Saturday she'll start here at the 9/11 Firefighter Memorial and then make her way over to the pier. But Jan says her trip won't be officially over until she dips her feet into the Atlantic Ocean. In Ocean City, Michelle McConaughey, 47 ABC.